I call this meeting of the Oxford Historic Preservation Commission to order. First, next item is approval of agenda that we have all received, and all of our guests should have those as well. They were available at the, as you came into the room. Is there a motion that we approve the agenda?
I move it on behalf of Joel Little, who reminded me I didn't do it last time.
This time we're going to get it right. There's a motion. Is there a second for the approval of the agenda?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is approval of the minutes from the January 23rd, 2024 meeting. Is there, pardon?
Sorry, it's 2025.
Yes.
Yeah, that's,
Typo.
speaking of changes to the agenda.
Yeah. Is there a motion to approve those minutes as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any other comments? If not, all in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Staff report. Kate, do you have a report?
Nothing to report except that now that we're done with all of our early winter holidays, we'll move back to Monday, the third Monday of the month. So our next meeting will be on the 17th at our regularly scheduled time.
Next meeting, March 17. Thank you. We have one public hearing and one complimentary review. The public hearing is for case number 811, requested by Valerie Delgadillo, by Timothy Garner, for renovations and modifications to the existing structure located at 600 North 11th Street. Kate, would you set it up for us?
Thank you. 600 North 11th Street is described in the Historic Resources Inventory Survey as a circa 1940 one-story frame with shiplap siding, colonial revival cottage. It currently has an incised entry with two doors into two different units. So I broke down the changes in your staff report into different bulleted points with relevant design guidelines references. The first item is to add a new front entry, to add a gable roof over the front stoop, install a new front door, and to install a new brick stair and landing. The existing front entry was framed in or recessed to allow for a duplex in this location. It's clear when you're looking at the structure, I'm sure you guys all went by, that it was a small single-family building that's been added onto and then split to create a duplex at some point in the building's history. The applicant wishes to return the building to a single-family home, and staff believes that the simple front porch overhang that was proposed is appropriate for the age and style of the house. In regards to the new brick stair and landing, staff believes that a poured concrete stair similar to existing would be more appropriate, as the design guidelines recommend to avoid adding architectural features that are not original. And if no evidence exists to document the original entry steps, new steps should be based on the architectural style of the building. So you'll see that listed as one of the conditions at the end of this report. The second item, to replace windows, remove windows on the right elevation, remove all windows on the rear elevation, to install a new side door and sliding door. From the design guidelines, windows should be considered significant to a building if they're original. Owners and builders should make every effort to preserve existing historic windows and to repair and restore them, rather than to replace them with new modern windows. So staff is recommending retention of the existing windows based on the recommendations of the design guidelines. Regarding the left and rear elevation, from the design guidelines, windows are to be compatible with the detailing, placement, rhythm, and relationship of solids to voids on those of the historic building, and to maintain window openings, do not enlarge, reduce, or alter the window openings. I will note here that we received an updated set of plans today from the applicant, which I sent to the commission and which will be included with the case file for the property. They've added two windows onto the proposed new rear elevation, so we'll take a look at that in a minute when we pull the plans up. The next item, to remove the existing vinyl siding and replace with 4-inch smooth hardy siding. The removal of existing vinyl to replace with hardy siding in theory meets with the recommendations of the design guidelines, and that hardy siding would be more closely, it will more closely approximate an appropriate wood siding for the structure than the vinyl that's there currently. So we've met with the applicant a couple of times about potentially exploring what's under the vinyl siding. A lot of times, and we've had a few cases come before this commission, when you start removal of vinyl siding, the existing wood siding is underneath, and the condition can vary. We've had instances where it was in great condition and it was reused. We've had instances where it needed to be replaced fully because it was deteriorated. So staff is recommending as a condition of this approval that there's some exploratory removal of the existing vinyl siding to see what's underneath, and then we can move forward from there, either with repairing that and reusing it, or move forward with a replacement of hardy. So staff is requesting that the commission would delegate that to staff as a condition of approval. The proposal for the gutters and to re-stucco and paint the foundation skirt are both in accordance with the recommendations of the design guidelines. And then our final item is just several site elements, including removal of a rear shed, additional fencing, a new brick patio, new parking pads, and the existing parking locations. The rear shed is not included in the Historic Resources inventory survey for the property, and it's a simple shed. It's not a former garage structure, which we see a lot of times come before this commission. Its removal will not negatively detract from the character of the district, and the proposed parking areas are in locations of existing parking on site and will not obscure the front or any character-defining feature of the house. Additionally, I'll note that this is more of a land development code thing, but the applicant has checked the coverage amount in terms of paving and amount of hardscaping on site, and they're within their allotted 50%. The proposed patio and railings are located on the side elevation, and the rear are located to the existing rear addition and behind the original rear of the house. And the proposed doors are appropriate based on the existing fenestration. So staff is recommending approval of the COA with 5 conditions. We've already mentioned the siding, with the condition that the existing windows are retained and restored, that the left and rear elevations are revised to maintain window openings consistent with the rhythm of existing openings, so we can talk about the new rear elevation that we received today from the applicant, that the new stair would be constructed of concrete instead of brick, and this last one is that new fencing will be approved by staff and will receive the required permit, and that new fencing will meet the recommendations of the design guidelines and the land development code. There's some fencing specified that wasn't fully fleshed out in the application, so that's just so that we can get those final details from the applicant and make sure they meet the code so they can get their permits for fencing when the time is right for that. So that was a lot of information. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. I will note on the windows, we received 2, I guess, narratives you would call them today from the applicant regarding the windows from window reps that they had look at the windows regarding the condition of the existing windows. So those were forwarded on to you as well.
Thank you, thank you, Kate.
I have one question.
For Kate, yes.
Are you recommending that the back patio with the brick steps, is that okay, just the front steps that you're saying? Okay.
Yeah. Mhm. Just simply because of the location, like on the addition. Mhm. And I forgot to mention that Timothy Garner and the applicant are here, if anyone has questions for them. Do you want to present?
If Mr. Garner would like to come and elaborate or respond to any of the information that Kate has presented to us, particularly the items that the staff is not recommending, I would imagine you'd want to respond to that.
How are you guys? Timothy Garner. So as far as all the recommendations, it's the concrete steps, no big deal. We're going to do that. The windows are our biggest concern. I think you guys saw there's 2 emails regarding the windows. They're just not in good shape at all. So that's our main concern. It's just addressing installation of new windows, and then also just being able to relocate windows so it works with our updated floor plan. And we, like Kate said, originally we had no windows on the rear, and I think that was, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was Kate's biggest issue, is that there was just no windows at all. She was okay with them being relocated, but she still wanted some windows on there. So we added 2 windows back onto the rear. But other than that, we agree to abide by all the recommendations, other than keeping the existing windows.
So it sounds like the primary subjects for the commission to consider to discuss are the windows.
Correct, that's our biggest issue, yes,
Yeah.
sir.
And the removal of some of of some of the siding to see what, a little.
Yeah, the siding's not a issue. I think everyone knows that the vinyl needs to come down. If the wood is able to be salvaged, we're good with that. The only
Yeah.
thing that we're concerned with on the wood siding is there was an addition on the right side of the home, and so we're not real sure what's going to
What's
happen
there.
there.
Yeah.
We don't know what, how they, constructed that. So I think that would be the biggest hiccup. But if we can match it,
Yeah.
we will.
We're
Okay.
not really sure the age of that addition either.
Correct.
So we just don't really know what's.
Yeah, we
behind
just don't know what's behind it.
Either side.
But, after this, approval process, we'll start taking that down and evaluating it.
Can you say that the vinyl's coming off regardless of what you find?
The vinyl's coming off regardless, correct. Yeah. And if the wood's just in terrible shape, we're gonna replace it with hardy, to match the existing size, et cetera.
Windows are frequently an issue.
Sure.
In this kind of situation. I went over this afternoon and walked around the house and looked at the windows.
Sure.
And, based on other situations, similar situations in houses of similar age and windows of similar conditions, I personally did not see them to be in worse condition than others that have been reglazed.
Sure.
The window frames certainly need repair and so forth, but I personally would question the need to replace the windows. And I would kind of open the conversation of windows.
Well, I think it's a matter of also, there's,
I'm actually of a different opinion, and that is because of safety. Because as I read the two letters that were submitted, it appeared that they were all painted shut, and if they were lifted up, they crumbled. So for that reason, safety reasons alone, I'm not concerned about the windows.
And also, it's the question of how many are you actually saving? If you look at the plan, there's only, the front.
and that's the issue as
Yeah,
well,
the front
just
two
because,
windows.
we have a sliding, a slider on the side elevation, and then also, it's just matching them and then reusing them. So if we're popping them out and then popping them back in new locations, they're just not, it's just not gonna work. As far as sizing and the look, obviously we're gonna keep that the same. We're not making any bigger, any wider, any longer. They're still gonna be proportional. It's, we're just not gonna be able to salvage any of them.
Well, no, we didn't include it in the report, but the Marvin clad windows that they are proposing can replicate this profile
Okay.
adequately, in our opinion.
Any other comments about the windows? And Kate, you're satisfied that the replacement windows would match the 6/6 and the size and
Yeah,
so
we'll
forth?
get a final quote from them that shows the actual width, but I believe what they've specified can do it.
Okay. I talked with Kate recently about the evolution of storm windows. And I was happy to hear the confirmation that they've come a long way and they're not as obtrusive as they have historically been.
Sure.
Does anybody, any other commissioner have a problem with replacing the windows or not?
No, and I think if the Marvin windows look close enough to those, that would be a better solution than trying to put a store window on some other window.
Very good, thank you. Any other comments? Are there any other questions or comments about this case from any commissioner? If not, is there a motion that we approve this COA with the condition and understanding that the particulars that were cited by Kate, I think the windows, we seem to have resolved that replacement is acceptable. And that the siding, existing siding will be removed, but before anything else is removed, the condition of what might be under it, or might not be
Correct.
anything under it, is part of the process.
And you guys are fine with the concrete stair?
Yeah, that's no issue.
So is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
This motion, is there a second? Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The proposal is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Next item on the agenda is a complimentary review requested by Ryan Walker. Architect for Mr. Walker is J.D. Caldwell for additions to the existing structure and to build a new garage and pool at 619 Van Buren Avenue.
Yeah, so since this is a complimentary review, I'm going to let the applicant present mostly, but
Good.
we're all very familiar with this house. I'm going to read the information from the Historic Resources Inventory Survey quickly. The existing building is described as a 1.5-story, 5-bay frame gable and wing cottage with Italianate and Gothic Revival influences, built circa 1872 and altered circa 1930, with a half-story and side additions. We listed out in your staff report several items from the design guidelines, quotes from the design guidelines related to the proposal. Most importantly, for new additions to historic structures, and also new construction related to the proposed outbuilding. So, yeah, I'll let you go ahead and present.
Okay.
If you have any specific
Mr. Caldwell,
Yes, sir.
if you'd introduce yourself for the record, please.
I'm J.D. Caldwell, and I'm the architect working on this project for Ryan and Chelsea Walker.
Before you start, let me tell you how impressive the work that has been done on the house to this point is. Is that your effort?
It's a team effort, but yes,
Yeah.
it's.
Well, it's a really nice result from my view from the street, so we appreciate what you've done
Yeah.
with the house.
If there's anywhere in particular you want to go in terms of your documents, let me know.
Okay. I assume everyone's gotten to look at the
Yes.
packet, at least some?
We received the packet some days ago, and I think have all had an opportunity to look at the details.
Okay. Well, in general, just navigating the process, y'all please stop me if I need to go in a different direction, but I was just trying to give, obviously, a picture of the current condition and then the previous. The goal is to turn it into a fully functioning permanent residence. And so it's not Airbnb, it's nothing like that. It is sticking to the historic precedent and trying to rehabilitate especially the front facade and the historical significance of the home. We've been working with everyone here quite a bit and, getting a pretty good feel for all the guidelines. But some of them we have some questions on, or what is some flexibility. So that's really what I was trying to highlight in this in general. Do you want me just to walk you through the program or what we're doing?
Yeah, I think that.
Is that the easiest way to go about it?
It's a complimentary review, so I think for these things to work as well as they can, we need to understand clearly what you want to do.
Okay.
And we've seen the documents. Hearing you, generally describe them will be helpful. And then our comments, of course, are complimentary.
Sure.
And I think and hope that we will all be candid so that you will know where you are in the process. We appreciate the opportunity for the complimentary review. Something of this magnitude, it's usually a good idea.
Okay. Well, I do think the architecture drawings are probably the best way to go. These are just different perspectives. You can tell that the existing home is kind of grayed out a little bit, and we are adding quite a bit of square footage. Now, we are under the 50% hardscape on the lot, just barely, but we are underneath it.
Now stop if you would a second.
Hmm?
You're under the 50%,
Uh,
oh, you mean the coverage of the lot
Yes, sir.
itself?
Right.
Not
Yeah.
not the expansion, okay.
Correct.
excuse me
Yeah,
for
the lot
interrupting.
coverage requirement for this district
all right.
is 50%.
Right.
That's all impervious coverage, driveways, patios, pools, pool decks, guest homes, footprint of buildings, et cetera.
Right. And so what you're looking at, and I think maybe going to the next sheet, the site plan may be the easiest way. So what we're trying to do is add a hyphen to the project so that you have a new versus old addition. We're not trying to mimic and copy the existing house exactly, but we are trying to recognize the historical significance and the detailing of the existing. The back of the lot is where the new living quarters, kitchen, everything is going to be back there along with the screen porch. To the left side of the page, you see a pool that is completely screened from the front. And then in front of that pool would be a two-car garage. There's no living in that, no upstairs space, mother-in-law suite, anything like that. It is purely a garage, or I would call it more of a carriage house. We're trying to create character with that. It is screened by a large set of trees on the front of the property, so it will not be highly visible, and it is set back from the front of the house about 20 feet.
I apologize for interrupting, but as you
Sure.
go, I think there are questions that we can hear your response. So the dormers, the four dormers on the garage are decorative only? There's no plan
Decorative
for
only.
living space?
Correct.
Thanks.
It may have some storage space up there if we do a drop-down stair, but it's not intended to be any living space. So the carriage house style is more of a late 20s, early 30s type carriage house, whereas the Hamlet house is more, I think it was 1872 is what
Yeah.
it's documented as. The addition that was done in 1920, I believe, was more cottage, arts and crafts type movement. And so there's a mix of styles to pull from on the house. The back that we are proposing would mimic window styles and try and allude to the front. We are rehabilitating the entire front. It will continue to go as you've been seeing it progress. You might want to, let's keep scrolling through the floor plan. Oh, it's okay. Keep going. We are proposing to take down a piece of the addition on the back that's very small. When we walked through the home, you could tell that it was added. It looked like in the 50s or so. A lot of it was falling in, and in order to create a hyphen for the new structure, some piece of that needs to, it's partially rehabilitated and going to have a new roof and new windows and new everything. The upstairs of the existing, we are going to be using it, and then it will have a second set of stairs for the new addition. So those will be completely separated. If you keep scrolling, I think you'll see so this is the new plan.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's totally fine. So you can kind of see right there in the middle of the page, the historic, everything is a little bit lighter, and then everything that's new is towards the back. We are also proposing a new rear retaining wall fence in order to make the lot more usable. Some of the grades dive very steeply at the very back of the lot, and so we're having to mitigate that, which we've already gotten approval for variance to do with the Planning Commission. But anyway, if you keep going to the next page, I think, yeah, there's the upstairs. So you'll have two distinctly different areas for that, and then that lower flat roof is what separates the two areas. So you'll be able to tell the original Hamlet house, or whatever it was called before then. So let's keep scrolling through that. Yeah, and then there's a roof plan. That makes it pretty easy to see the different structures, the original versus the new. We are adding two fireplaces to it. The one on the left will be the screen porch, and the one on the right will be part of the new living room. And then,
There's existing.
yeah, keep scrolling. Go back up just a hair. Oh, there you go. That's it. You got it. You got it right. So that would be the rear elevation, the proposed rear elevation. And then at the bottom of the page is the existing with the carriage house to the left. And I've got some additional documents for the garage doors that will be there and the dormers. The intent is to look very much like the 1920s, 30s style carriage house. Those doors should be custom built. They will have a lot of character with them. They will not be factory type garage doors, and hopefully hand painted with a lot of glass in them. And let's see. And then this would be a side elevation facing the business that's there to the, I think it's the west. At the top of the page, it's a screen porch. And then the existing house, you can see on the right top, the very distinct Gothic architecture that was part of the original. And then down below, you're looking at the hyphen that separates the original house on the left from the new proposal on the right. Windows are mimicking, but not exactly the same, and the hyphen is meant to have a whole lot of glass between it.
Go to your other document. So this is
Sure,
the,
yeah.
Demolition,
Oh,
Image of
inside
what's-
the same drawing set?
no.
Oh.
I was gonna go to where you had the, image of what's being removed.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, just to make it real clear, most of the house has been scraped, repainted, windows rehabilitated, but we haven't done too much with this. We did re-roof it, not knowing what direction we'll go in. But this is the portion that, there's an interesting set of rear stairs, that wouldn't pass any code anywhere, anytime. But those are the little bit of pieces that, we're proposing to pull down so that we can make the addition. And then I included just a sample window that we were going to probably use. It's a pretty high-quality unit, and we're proposing to use aluminum-clad wood windows on the new. And then going through in the detailing, having half-round copper gutters, making sure that we have plenty of detailing on the new breezeway, and the dormers, just giving you a better idea than the drawings can give of what we're going for. Some of this steel bracketing, you can see, just adds character to the home, and the garage doors are intended to be one of a kind.
Thank you
Yeah, of
for
course.
leading us through that. I believe that our conversation is going to deal primarily with the size of the addition
Okay.
and the size, I suppose, and location of the garage. I know you're familiar with our guidelines. I just made a couple of notes, just lifting words out of the guidelines that I
Sure.
personally have concerns about as far as this proposal is concerned. First of all, I would say the hyphen, that's good. We definitely like to know where the new addition starts and the old one ends. But here are just some phrases in dealing with the new addition. Should not overpower the original structure. should be subordinate to the new structure. The scale, massing, rhythm, and portion of any new addition should complement the original structure. Should contribute to, not detract from, the original structure. And then as far as the garage is concerned, locate new buildings in the rear of the yard. So, those are my concerns, and
Sure.
I'm happy to go into much more detail, but let me just open the conversation up for other people's reactions about any part of this for the purposes of this complimentary review.
Well, for one, we have consistently tried to go by guidelines where the garage is never on the front, and if so, it's kind of hidden so that you don't realize. I mean, there's one on 11th Street, South 11th, that we dealt with a couple of years ago, that, you know, was the main issue with that addition to an extremely old home. I think one of the oldest in Oxford.
Yeah.
And so that's something we kind of try and go by. And looking at your plan, it would mean that you would have to change up quite a bit if you did that, or come to some appeasement somehow with how it fits into the guidelines that we are asked to go by.
Yep.
But it's gorgeous.
Appreciate it. One effort we made to make sure that the addition is secondary to the primary structure is trying to bring down the roof lines as much as possible. And to fit the program, a rather large program and a large family, the roof lines are below the original house. It will be very difficult to see that addition from the primary facade. So in that regards, we were definitely trying
And I
to.
do see that, with the exception of the new chimney on the east side of the house, which I do believe you will see from
Yeah,
from the street. Our guidelines actually state that a new addition should not exceed 50% of the size of the original structure, 50%. And it does appear that this addition is at least equal to the size of the house, if not larger. And that's excluding the mass that would include the garage.
So what
Sure.
would the square footage be of the addition versus the square footage of the original building?
I wish I had that number right at the top of my head, but it is not on the cover sheet. I will get you that information, but it pretty much doubles the size of the house. With regards to the carriage house to the side and being in the front, I understand the reasoning behind that, and that is a good rule 99% of the time. In this case, to make the lot usable, I would typically locate a garage where it could not be seen as well. The most space on the lot to the side, if we put the house addition to the side, it would definitely be more impactful from the street facade and detract from the original house much more than the carriage house being there, along with the small breezeway connector, which is a fairly well-rooted way of saying, hey, this is a subsidiary building to the primary.
If the garage were where it should be, that definitely would affect the size of the pool, the size of the screen porch, and those would be
Yeah.
the issues or the opportunities to change if you wanted to have a two-car large garage on the property.
There are limited options on the property without wholly just changing the whole floor
Yeah.
plan, right? So, yeah, that's, I guess from a design decision standpoint and direction, it was the lesser of two evils to put the new large home addition at the back and have the smaller unit up front. Also, I mean, I understand that it's been done before and the garage has been put in the rear. I'm curious as to size of lots and what we have to work with versus that, just on a case-by-case scenario. But that's just priority-wise how we came up with the program the way it is. Did I address both? Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I think the word that he mentioned a few moments ago when we defined the outline, to my eye, and to my, like, understanding this more in depth with your narrative, and I certainly appreciate that, the word that keeps jumping out at me is scale. Like, the scale is large.
Correct.
And I think that funnels through the conversation of the scale of the addition, the scale of the garage, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's personally where I kind of begin to trip.
I'm wondering if the drive could be redirected and camouflaged so you don't really see the garage.
How's the,
Well, if it, you know, a lot of houses have a circular, so to speak, drive. If it came in more at an angle instead of straight
okay.
and was able to be camouflaged with tall shrubbery, then it would not be something that, that's how we got by with the one on South 11th. I think that was built in 1820-something.
That project, I think, predates me. So I don't- Are you talking
Well,
about the
but-
one where they
but it-
included it into the addition?
Do what?
Are you talking about the one where they included it was like a really old garage into the addition?
Into the addition and put in a pool behind,
Gotcha.
and it was on South 11th.
So, my understanding from the guidelines was if there's not a circular drive or something dramatically different already in place, they encourage you not to
And
do
that is
something,
true,
right?
Like
Okay.
a parking pad or something. you're
Right. What we're actually doing, so the current driveway is almost identical to where it is now. There's a huge hill that falls off right there. There is a huge set of trees that honestly are going to block the entire carriage house. And so trying not to do any work that was going to damage those trees. I mean, we can't guarantee we'll save them, but we'll do our best. We've actually reduced the amount of impervious paving on site and reduced the amount of parking. Right now, when you drive up there, it's a sea of asphalt. And so what we're trying to do is actually cozy it up quite a bit and make it a lot more charming. If we could come in at a different angle, I'd be all game for doing a study for that. I don't know how it wouldn't appear to be more in front of the original house. I don't want to do anything that takes away from that.
No, if anything, if there's a resolution to the garage, in my opinion, it's going to have to be moved considerably back. And I realize that it is offset, it's not flush with the existing house, but still, it detracts.
It's too close for comfort for
It
visual.
just simply takes away from the house, period.
At what, I guess, distance back would be a comfort level that would be more acceptable?
Far enough that you don't see it. And that's a bit of an overstatement. Diane mentioned some sort of camouflage, landscaping, I don't know what, but you know, that would interfere with cars coming back and forth. It's not an easy solution. There's just a lot of new structure on that lot. The primary addition to the house is far more than 50% in size to the original structure. So I think that's an issue that would have to be addressed, negotiated. I think it could be negotiated, but just the size of that addition. And if I personally were considering the addition and the garage is far more unacceptable to me.
And granted, I was grasping at straws.
No, I appreciate
Just
it.
trying to
I
help.
appreciate it. No.
Did you have any more pictures of the existing trees that it would be behind?
You know, I'm wishing I'd taken some and brought them today. But I will absolutely do that. Those trees are right in that crux of where, when you come up the driveway and it turns, those things are 60 feet tall. I mean, they're huge, I think cypress, or cedars.
Maybe
big-
Kate's going to show us a view.
Okay, Google Maps.
And there again, these are things that we are struggling with.
Sure.
So you can pick up and educate us when you come back for an approval with the data that we are questioning.
Right. We do have a landscape architect on this job. She's a very good architect, and she is going to be heavily involved with that. Typically, they're not involved till a little later in the process, but we'll get her involved now, more so.
This is a whole old Google map, so it's been cleaned up significantly since then, but it might help a little bit.
Do other commissioners have observations or concerns? Because when this comes back, I mean, you know, again, complimentary reviews are so helpful because it can assist the architect in maybe not wasting his time doing things that, when they come back, won't be approved. So now's the time for candor. If anyone.
There are the trees.
That's the existing driveway?
That's the existing driveway. It's within 3 feet of what we're going to do for the new one. We want to keep this hill on the right side with, and obviously the overgrowth has been taken care of now. But those are big trees, and we're going to continue to screen, especially with the feedback from today. So you can tell from there, you can't even see the left side of the property.
But of course, that's one view.
Correct.
Out of 280 degrees.
The scrub stuff, the underbrush. There was early talk about taking those trees down, but considering this and the fact the landscape architect didn't want to take it down, I think I'm losing that battle. I think I'd rather keep them.
So you can build the garage you're proposing with those trees still in place?
The big ones that you see right here on the right, the
No,
ones that are farther back, on the left, a lot of those were dead already. So deeper into the property, which is a little bit of a deceiving view, like that crown that you see kind of in between, that I believe that tree's gone at this point. or
Yeah,
pretty
they
much
haven't
dead.
been back by, this is from 2022, so a lot of it has been
Okay.
cut since then.
Um,
I don't know why it's split out.
But yeah, we'll have more pictures of that.
Well,
at the
you've
next
heard
meeting.
from 1, 2, 3, 4 of us with concerns about the scale of your proposal. From me in particular about your garage. And I'll say again, to rectify many of those concerns, I think the size of the pool and the screen porch, I mean, if there is to be a garage, you're limited with, where that could be. And based on what we're seeing, the options are the pool and the screen porch. Smaller pool, smaller screen porch, push the garage back in the lot. And then we still, I think you're gonna have to address the size, the overall size of the new addition.
So in regards to the size, if we're working towards middle ground on that, what is that middle ground?
We really want to, I mean, I'll say again, what a nice job
Thank you.
the owner has done to this point. We absolutely want to work with the new owner and you to accommodate as much as possible in this expansion and so forth. But there's some issues that are just in such dire conflict with our guidelines.
Okay. From a programming standpoint and from size of lot, it is a tough egg to crack, or nut to crack, but I think there are options to move and garage and size of things. I'm just trying to get a target on what I'm working towards. But yeah.
And we listen to the staff closely, and, on more complex issues, more controversial issues, the commission makes a decision. But we're very comfortable and hopeful that you will work with the staff in their opinions of areas of concession or approval.
We've had a good working relationship so
Yeah,
far.
absolutely.
It's been great.
Any other comments from Mr. Caldwell? We appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you. Yeah, I just. Is there any other business or comments from any of our commissioners?
We're back to our regular Monday meeting starting next month.
Exactly. We thank those who have come to join us tonight, and without further business, is there a motion that the meeting ends? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.